Hi everyone, I'm April, and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is a book edition. So let's go ahead and get started on what I read the past couple of weeks. So let's start with the one book that I actually have in my pretty little hands, and this is called Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa Cather. This is a classic, and the reason why I picked it up is the title to me sounded like it would be like a cozy mystery, something along the lines of Agatha Christie or Josephine Tey. Had never heard of this author before, and I didn't really do a whole lot of research as to what it was about, but I bought it for $2 at the local used bookshop, and it's been sitting around for quite a while. The main attraction for me was, like I said, I thought it was a cozy mystery, but it's also set in New Mexico, 1800s New Mexico. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I hardly ever see any books set in New Mexico, like mainstream type books. So it always makes me happy when I can read something that has place names that I'm familiar with. I'm holding it because I wanted to see copyright 1927. So this is an old one. And what it is a French bishop leaves his parish, or it's not called parish, it's called something else, but he's in Chicago. And this, like I said, this is in the 1800s. Let me find the exact date. Hold on. 1848. So it basically follows him on his travel from Chicago to New Mexico, where he encounters all different types of people within the church, as well as just the locals, many of whom are Catholic, including the Mexicans, Native Americans, but there's also those who are not. And there are those within the church who are not as upright citizens as he would like. And so it's a very interesting story. He's very kind. I was expecting this to be a cozy mystery, so this was a very different type of story. But he does a lot of traveling because he's the bishop for all of the area, so he goes traveling all over the place on his little donkey. I can't remember what his donkey's name, but it was kind of funny. But he goes there and he spends several decades out there, and it's just a really interesting, kind of uplifting story. And in the way that he encounters people and how he just wants to spread love. So I really, really enjoyed this. I think I am going to donate that one, though, because I think I want to get a version of it for my Kindle. I did have another book that was a physical book that I read, and that was, I think I showed it to you last time. It was The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I did finish that one. This was the first book in the First Law trilogy, and I had a really good time with it. It's kind of it's very dark. It's got a lot of violence, but it's a fantasy, and it has some humor to it. There's some inner thoughts of some characters that I'm just like, yeah, I feel you. I'm with you. There's just some things that I really connect with, some things that I thought were funny, sarcastic. I'm down for all of that. But it is a very interesting, this is the first book in the trilogy, and I think there's other books in that world after that, but this is the first book. So it does a lot of setup. And this one really, really feels, there's not a whole lot of action going on, but there's a whole lot of introduction, meeting all these characters, but it never felt stagnant. All of the characters were interesting. All of the situations that they're in and the things that are about to change are very, very interesting. The relationships and the interactions between all the characters was very, very interesting. So it didn't feel boring, considering that not a whole lot is moving forward. It's just a lot of setup and introduction, and I had a really, really good time with it. The other book that I read or finished was War Master's Gate which is the ninth book in the Shadows of the Apt series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And oh, things are just going, things are moving. You can tell it's getting to the end of the series, and there's so much happening. And oh, I was on the edge of my seat for a few of those end chapters. I was just having such a good time. Lots of things going on with all of these bug kindin, these bug people, and some terrifying things. There are just some scary things, and there's some things hinted at that they've been hinting for a few books now, and I have a feeling that one of the big baddies in the next book is going to be a bug that I very, 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 very much loathe. And I'm kind of scared, but I'm kind of excited for it. But I don't even know if that's what it is. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting based on just descriptions and whatever. But it's still very much only hinted at. So I don't know. But if it is what I think it is, I'm going to get the willies. And oh, but I'm loving it so far. And so the next book, which is the last in the series, and the main series, is called The Seal of the Worm. And that's what they keep calling these villains, the worm, but they also keep saying they're not actually worms. They just call them that for some reason. So I don't know what this is going to be, but it's kind of freaking me out. But what I was going to say is, even though this is the last book in this main series, there is a set of 4 books, and I don't know how big they are, but I want to get those as well and read those next, probably starting in the new year. I mean, depending on how big they are, I may do, again, one a month with those. But it's called Tales from the Apt. So I'm thinking this is going to be some shorter stories intermingled in between what had been happening during this whole series. It's not like a continuation. It's going to be more of some of the things that happened that were kind of off page in the series is what I'm thinking. So I think I'm going to do that starting in the new year, but I'm very excited about it because I really don't want this world to end. I had so much fun with this series, and I'm super excited for this last main book. Let's see. Now, if I didn't have enough big books going on, the other one that I did was an audiobook, and Mike from Mike's Book Reviews was talking about this one, and he started a whole thread on his Discord, The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And I think I mentioned the last time that I had done The Evening and the Morning, which was a prequel set several hundred years before this one. And I thought that my next book was going to be The Armor of Light or something like that. I thought that was the next one chronologically, because that's how I'm doing them. Instead of publication order, I'm doing chronologically. Don't fight me over that. I just felt it would be a cool way to do. I know a lot of people are really publication order only, but whatever. I decided to do it that way, and I really enjoyed it. But I thought that Armor of Light was the next one, and it's not. That's actually one more towards the end. The next one was the main book, the original book, Pillars of the Earth, which I had read 30 plus years ago. And reading it again this time was very good still. And I keep reading these fantasies, and they're called dark fantasies or grimdark or whatever all of these things are. And other booktubers are always talking about, you got to be in the right state of mind to read these. These are very dark and lots of bad things happen. And I find myself not too bothered by most of that. And I think it's because I've read historical fiction, because a lot of things that happened in history were just awful. And this book, Pillars of the Earth, no exception. It was the same thing with the Evening and the Morning book. So I guess some of the things that I've been reading in dark fantasy are not as dark as some of the stuff that I had read, because I was worried about reading dark fantasy, thinking, oh my God, it's going to be too much. But then I'm like, it's not that bad. And then when I came to reread this book, and I'm like, that's probably why I've been reading this type of darkness for 30 plus years, and it just didn't really click to me that it would be translated into fantasy for some reason. I don't know. But it was really, really good 30 plus years later, and I still very much was riveted by the story. So, the next one in the series, which I am going to be starting now in December, is The World Without End. Um, I just have to wait for that one to come in on the Libby app. I'm borrowing it from the library, so I'm just waiting for that audio to come in. These are huge books, these ones by Ken Follett. What Pillars of the Earth was 976 pages. So, yeah, those ones I'm doing on audio alongside all of these other big books that I'm eyeball reading. So, let's see. What else did I get to? Whoa, an audiobook that I did was the latest in a cozy mystery series by Cleo Quayle. It's the um, coffee shop mystery series. And this particular book, I don't remember the number of the book, but it's called Bulletproof Barista. It was okay. These um, cozy mysteries are always for me just kind of mid. There's very few that are four or above, and those usually end up being Agatha Christie. But I love them for their entertainment value. They're not heavy literature. They're not grand, you know, insightful, anything like that. They're just pure entertainment. And this one was really good too. This one made me laugh though because it was very heavy on taking references with things that are going on today. Um, it involved a TV show that was filming in the coffee shop where the protagonist works, and she's also the amateur sleuth. But the TV show that is filming in her shop is called Only Murders in Gotham, and it involves an older actor and a younger actress who started off in her fame came from being a pop star. And it's very similar as far as those details, those basic details to Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Selena Gomez and Martin Short. So that made me giggle. And then what else was going on in the book that was very much of things going on today? Oh gosh, now I can't remember. Oh, it was one of the characters in the show got shot by what was supposed to be um, fake bullets. What are they called? The word's escaping me. Blanks. They were supposed to be blanks, but of course it was a real bullet. And that is something that just recently happened in the real world in a movie on a movie set. There was one other thing that happened too, and I can't think of what it is right now. But it took a whole lot of things. It was just very interesting how all of these current issues were brought up into this story. It was fun. It was funny. Like I said, cozy mysteries to me are just one of those um, pure entertainment, nothing of literature type value, just fun. Um, and then the last book that I have to talk about is an ebook that I have on my Kindle called Run, which is a Blake Crouch story. I read, I don't know why I'm fumbling with this book, with my notebook so much. I have been reading Blake Crouch stories over the past, I think, year and a half in publication order. And this is the next one that came up, and I had finished the two of the big books, the War Master's Gate and The Blade itself. I finished those with like a little less than a week till the end of the month. So I decided to pick up Run, and boy, is that one dark. That one is just gory. My goodness. So Run involves a family that decides to just suddenly pack up all their stuff, packing camping gear and like all kinds of essentials because something has happened And there are people who are going around killing each other. Like they're just something clicked in their brain and they're just suddenly murdering everybody. And it becomes very apparent that the cause of this is there was some sort of aurora type light thing going on in the sky that affected the lower 48 states in the United States and northern Mexico. And whoever happened to be outside and looked at those lights in the sky that particular time were all affected in this way. Anybody who was, asleep in the middle of the night and didn't see these lights were not affected. But everybody else, they suddenly became very violent and initially started off killing family members and then everybody else. And I guess there's a way for them to tell if the people that they're approaching are not affected. They can sense each other, and if they don't sense it in somebody else, then they get murdered. But it's not the other way around. People not affected can't tell. So it's the whole story is about this family trying to survive on the road because there's all of these radio broadcasts and stuff about a safe place in Canada, and they're just trying to get from Albuquerque all the way to Canada and all of the gruesome things that happen between that they run into between there. And it's a very gory, gruesome book. It was really good. It was very fast reading, not very long, less than 250 pages, I think. Very fast paced, kind of really edge of your seat. And so far, I am really enjoying reading all of the Blake Crouch books. I haven't read any of his new ones like Dark Matter or um, is it called Dark Matter? Because I know that he blew up in the last few years as a science fiction writer, but it seems like his earlier books were horror or thriller type books. So I'm still in that era of him. But I'm really enjoying this journey of reading his stuff. So that was the last book that I got to this past couple of weeks. Now, I do want to say that I did it. I was doing 100 book challenge where I read 100 books that I already own before I buy anything brand new. And I did it. I did it. I am officially at 102. So I have finished the challenge that I have been doing since the beginning of the year. I already know what I'm going to buy. I haven't bought it yet because payday has to happen first. My favorite book of all time is Watership Down by Richard Adams. And I have a paperback, trade paperback copy that's floppy and it's banged up, and that's the one I read from. I have that on audio, on Audible. I believe it's Peter Capaldi that reads that one. Absolutely fabulous version. And then I have two For Pretty versions. They're really big tables, not table size, but really big books. One of them is illustrated with beautiful illustrations. So I've got 4 copies already, but someone just made a Watership Down comic book or graphic novel. I think it's hardbound. I think it's a hardcover graphic novel of Watership Down, and the art looks super cute. I'm going to put a picture up here. That is what I'm getting on my next payday. And there's also another one, and I'm going to treat myself to 2 books because I have gone through a lot of books that I actually own. And I actually need to do the math to see how many of the ones that I owned, how many of those I actually got out of the house and donated. A lot of them were on Kindle, but a lot of them were physical, and many of them I donated. I kept very few of the physical books that I read. But anyway, so I'm going to get myself two prizes. The other one is a I think it's also a hardcover graphic novel of Murder on the Orient Express, which happens to be my very favorite Agatha Christie book. I'm going to put a picture of that one up here too, but those are going to be my prizes to myself for completing this challenge. And I think I'm going to do it again. Starting in January, I'm going to start counting the books that I own, that I'm reading throughout the year, to get to 100. And then I can treat myself at the end of next year again. I'm really enjoying getting some of these books out. The reason why I didn't have that trade paperback copy of The Blade itself is because I was on the last 20 some pages at work, and a client came in and saw it, and he was like, oh, that looks good. I've heard about that. And I'm like, I'm almost done. Do you want it? And he's like, sure. So I finished it and I left it at work for him. I'm pretty sure he's got it by now, but so that one I gave away because he really wanted to read that. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he's going to wait for me to finish these other books because I'm only reading them one at a time, but he'll also get, if he doesn't buy them himself, I'm going to give him the other 3 in the First Law trilogy. So that's that. And I do thank you for spending a little bit of time with me, and let me know what you've been reading. And I will talk to you again next time. Bye.